Good morning, students. Today we have chapter 1.6, paraphrasing. What we have in this chapter is the following. Paraphrasing means changing the wording of a text so that it is significantly different from the original source without changing the meaning. In other words, when I say paraphrasing, it means we have to change the wording in the text. We have to change the words, we have to change the vocabulary in a way that is different from the original text, but at the same time we keep the same meaning, no more, no less. Effective paraphrasing is a key academic skill needed to avoid the risk of plagiarism. And you know the meaning of plagiarism? Plagiarism means stealing or taking from a source without referring to that source or without referring to that author. And actually, paraphrasing demonstrates your understanding of a source. If you understand the source in the right way, so you can paraphrase the material in the way you find it suitable for you. Now we come to the elements of effective paraphrasing. Paraphrasing and summarizing that we will take in the next chapter are normally used together in essay writing, and that's why I prefer to introduce or to explain both of them today, paraphrasing and summarizing, because they are highly related and you have to know them and to know the difference between each one of them, because both of them are used together in writing an essay or writing a paper or writing a book and so on. Summarizing aims to reduce information to a suitable length, which means when I summarize, I intend to reduce the information found in a sentence, in a paragraph, in a section, a chapter, in whatever length of piece of writing. While paraphrasing attempts to restate the relevant information. When I say summarize, it means to reduce the information, to make the words less in number, but without affecting the meaning. When I say paraphrasing, it is an attempt to restate the relevant information by changing the words, changing the order of the words, but keeping the same meaning of the original text. Okay? We have to know that the elements of effective paraphrasing can be summarized, or the elements or the points, or let's say the characteristics of paraphrase can be summarized in the following way. Number one, as you see here, it has a different structure to the original. The structure of a new copy, after the paraphrasing, the text is different. The structure of the text is different from that before the paraphrasing. The second point has mainly different vocabulary. Since we are dealing with words, since we are changing this word by that word, on the whole, we have a different set of vocabulary in the paraphrased copy of that text. The third point is retains the same meaning. Since we are using different words to do the paraphrase or the paraphrasing, we need to keep the same meaning, okay? Don't distort the meaning. And the last point is keep some phrases from the original that are in common use. For example, if I go back, when I paraphrase from one picture to another one, so I have to keep some elements, some words in the original text. Sometimes the words cannot be paraphrased. So if I go back to this example, as you see, there has been much debate about the reasons for the Industrial Revolution happening in 18th century Britain rather than in France or Germany. It could be paraphrased into why the Industrial Revolution occurred in Britain in the 18th century instead of on the continent has been the subject of considerable discussion here. If you come to the structure, you feel that the structure is different. Here we started with the subject, verb, object. Here we are using the conjunction why. Okay? and the same applies to the other element, to the other parts of the sentence. Also, we find that we have different vocabulary. For example, instead of, for instance, saying there has been much debate, I'm using why. And instead of using, for example, in Britain here, for instance, we can use also here instead of the continent, for instance, instead of using, for instance, the instead of saying, for example, France and Germany, we are using the continent and so on, and also retains the same meaning. If you read the sentence, you can get the same meaning as you have in the second sentence here. And here also we keep some of the phrases from the original source. In the original source we have, for instance, 18th century, so we cannot change the 18th century, so we keep it as it is. And also we are using industrial revolution. Also we cannot change the industrial revolution, so we keep it as it is. So here we have the different elements of changing the text from one state to another. And if you follow these four elements, so you will get a sort of effective paraphrase. Okay. Here you have an example, students. An example. The causes of the Industrial Revolution. I just want you to go through this passage. I want you to read it for 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, and then to go through the 3 paraphrases that follow. You have paraphrase A, you have paraphrase B, and you have paraphrase C. Here you have A, B, and C. I just want you to tell me which paraphrase is the best. Is it A? Is it B? Is it C? And you have to tell me why. If it is A, why it is A? What's there in the paraphrase that makes you tell that the A option is the best? And if you feel that the C option is the best, also you have to tell me. So I want you to tell me something about A, paragraph B, and paragraph C, and through what you are going to say here in one sentence for each, or maybe less than a sentence, maybe a few words, you have to tell me which is the best. Is it A, is it B, or is it C? So when you tell what is A or what is B or what is C, you can tell which one is the best among the others. In other words, I want you to tell me which is the best one. Then we go to the less good one and the worst one. Okay, so I leave this exercise to you, students. I want you to do it home and to check the answers with the other colleagues. Okay, now here we talked about the elements of writing a good paraphrase. But do you think that these elements are quite enough for us to know how to write a good paraphrase? No, this is not enough. So what we need also is to know something about the techniques for paraphrasing. Actually, here we have the 3 techniques that enable students or enable writers to produce a good piece of paraphrasing. These techniques are, number 1, changing vocabulary by using synonyms. By using synonyms, it means to give the meaning of the word. So when I do the paraphrase, sometimes I need to give the meaning of a word in order to do the paraphrasing. For example, instead of argues, I can use claims. Instead of using 18th century, I can use it as a figure here, as a number. Instead of saying wages, I can use labor. Instead of labor costs, and instead of economize, I can use saving. So but we have to put into consideration, students, that do not attempt to paraphrase every word, since some have no true synonyms. For example, the word demand, for example, economy, for example, energy. And in the previous example, as you remember, we didn't change the Industrial Revolution and we didn't change even the 18th century. So sometimes for some words we have to keep them as they are, but for the most, we have to change the meaning of a word by replacing it with its meaning or its synonym. The second technique is that changing a word class. By changing the word class, it means to change the word, the part of a speech. So instead of explanation, I can use explain. Instead of mechanical, I can use mechanize. Instead of profitable, I can use profitability, okay, as a noun. And the third point, or the third technique, is changing word order. Changing the word order, it means the order of the sentence as subject, verb, object can be also changed into another word order. For example, here, if you go back to the, if you change, for example, if you look at this example, the best explanation for the British location of the Industrial Revolution is found by studying demand factors. I can change it into a focus on demand, may help explain the UK origin of their Industrial Revolution. So here, by changing the word order of the two sentences, I also can provide what we call a good sort of paraphrasing. Okay? Now, let us come to some examples that will enable us to understand the three techniques together. We said that we have three techniques. Either we change the vocabulary, or we change the word class, it means the part of the speech, or I change the word order by changing the structure of the sentence. Okay? Now, we will have on page 53, on page 53, I have actually here you have this exercise. Read the following text and then practice the techniques illustrated above. Here we have a passage. We will go through this text or this passage, and we will see in the following how can we do the sort of paraphrase required by each of the following points A, B, C. Here we have A. Find synonyms for the words underlined. Here we have 1, 2, 3, three items, and we have what we need to do here is to change the synonyms, to change the meanings of certain words. And changing the meaning of words or giving the meaning of words is called to find synonyms. Okay, so let us take number 1. The growth of the car industry parallels the development of modern capitalism. So what I need to change here is the meaning of the word growth, the meaning of car, the meaning of parallels, and the meaning of development and the meaning of modern. By changing the meaning of these words, actually what I'm doing is I find synonyms for these words. And finding the synonyms will enable me to give a paraphrased text of this sentence, okay? A paraphrased copy. So instead of growth, I can use the word rise. Instead of the word car, I can use automobile. Instead of parallels, I can use matches. Instead of development, I can replace it with progress. And instead of modern, I can replace it with contemporary. So instead of having the growth of the car industry parallels the development of modern capitalism, I can say the rise of the automobile industry matches the progress of contemporary capitalism. Okay, so this is concerning A, or number 1. So now we are left with number 2 and number 3. Students, I want you to do it home as a sort of homework, because I just want you to practice what do I mean by synonyms as a technique for doing paraphrasing. Okay, now let us move to B. What do I have in B? Here I need to change the word class of the underlined words. Then rewrite the sentences. Here also I have 1, 2, 3, and what is required from me here is to change the word class, which means the part of speech of the underlined words. Here in number 1 I have the word management, which is a noun, and also we have the verb helped, and we have the adjective dominant. Okay, so instead of management theories, I can say managerial theories. I change the part of speech from a noun to an adjective. And instead of the verb helped, I can use the noun help with help. Instead of the verb helped, here I'm using the noun help. Okay? And instead of the adjective dominant, car company dominant, I can use the PP of the verb dominate, dominated, and here dominated is used as an adjective, the ed form of a verb in a position of an adjective. The dominated, terribly sorry students, here it is used as a verb, yes, dominant as an adjective, here it is used as a verb before the words car. So General Motors dominated the words car companies. So instead of the adjective dominant, I'm using the simple past dominated. Okay, so I want you to do the same for number 2 and number 3. I want you to replace the underlined words by other word classes, which means by finding the suitable part of speech instead of them. Now let us go to the third exercise. Change the word order of the following sentences. Other changes may be needed. So it means while you are doing the change, to the word order, you might need to add some other elements in order to have a good, well written text. For example, at the same time, trade unions become increasingly militant in defense of their members' job. Here I'm going to change the word order. At the same time, increasingly militant trade unions defended their members' jobs. You feel that here I changed the structure of the first sentence by another structure. Instead of having a comma here, for instance, I made the whole thing as one sentence. Okay? What is required from you is to go through exercise item number 2 and item number 3 and to do them home. Okay? By here, students, I'll stop, and I'm to tell you, students, for the exercises I have given you today, you need to practice them home. You are not going to be responsible for them in the exam. No, because if I bring some examples for you to paraphrase by changing the word order, by changing the vocabulary, by changing the word order or the vocabulary or the third one as a word class, I'm going to bring some other extra exercises from outside the book. So what is required from you is to practice and to be serious and to be cautious and to pay attention to what I give you and tell you in order to be efficient enough in order to do the same in the time of the exam. Wishing you all the best. Hopefully you have understood the lecture, and if you have any question, please you can leave them in the class so I can answer you as soon as I can. Thank you so much for your attention, and see you later. Thank you so much.